Hey, have you ever felt deeply connected to someone across time and space? Maybe thought of a friend and seconds later they called you? What if that wasn't coincidence or intuition, but an echo of something deeply real in the fabric of the universe? Today, we're going to talk about quantum entanglement and the spiritual truth that you are connected to everything and that you're never alone. Welcome to Walking the Path. I'm really excited to share this with you today, and I'm glad you're here. Um, Walking the Path is a live stream that we do under the auspices of Rhythmia, and I have had the great pleasure of facilitating classes and being part of the Rhythmia family for 8 years now. And it has been an amazing, amazing experience, and one that I'm deeply grateful for. Why? Because I get to see every week real transformation, real miracles happening in people's lives. And to be able to participate in that, to get to be, I know many people that are listening to this or will listen to it are in the helping arts, the healing arts. And you know how amazing it feels to be a part of something where you're being of service. And Rhythmia offers me that opportunity. And I get to witness so many, many blessings every week. So if you're looking for a miracle, if you're looking for a deeper connection with Source, if you're looking to be your authentic self, if you're looking to release old patterns that have been stopping you, check out Rhythmia. And I want to say hola to Diego. Thank you, brother. Blessings to you, lovely brother. Thank you. All right. So, quantum entanglement. That's our topic today in Walking the Path. So, I want us to say something before I get into quantum entanglement and spiritual truth. And here's the reason why. I was facilitating a class, and I love using examples of quantum physics in my lessons because to me they resonate very deeply with spiritual principle. But this particular student said to me, I studied quantum physics at Stanford, and you're misusing quantum physics. It's quantum quackery. You can't use a scientific um, theory to or system to prove spirituality. And what I want to be clear is that I'm not saying that quantum physics proves spiritual truth. What I am saying is that the deeper I go into quantum theory, and I'm reading it as a layperson, I don't know any of the math, but the more we're asked to release rigid ideas on separation, materialism, and control, ideas that mystics and indigenous traditions and spiritual teachers have been dissolving for millennia. You know, when I reference entanglement in the context of spirituality, I'm not trying to claim that the two uh, are literally like if two people are literally share entangled particles. What I am doing is drawing a poetic resonance between what science is discovering and what spirit has always intuited, that everything is interconnected and that what happens here affects there, and that the observer, consciousness, plays a role in what becomes real. These are not scientific claims. They are invitations to wonder, invitations to humility, and to a deeper inquiry into what it means to be conscious um, and relational beings in an interconnected universe. So I don't want to use science to validate spirit. I use it to marvel at how many ways truth speaks. We don't need to collapse science into spirituality or vice versa. We can honor both the mystery that they are both pointing towards. So, quantum entanglement is a specific and precise scientific phenomena, and I'm not claiming to use it in a lab. I'm using it here as a metaphor that invites us to the truth that we're more connected than we think. And I believe science and spirituality don't have to agree word for word to be in harmony, that they just have to keep us open. And if we stay open, we might just discover something sacred between the two. Okay, So with that said, what is quantum entanglement? From my understanding, to say it simply and clearly, when two particles interact and become entangled, their states become interdependent, no matter how far apart they are. Measuring or changing the state of one instantaneously affects the other, even at vast distances. Einstein famously called it spooky action at a distance. Okay, there have been military studies. Greg Braden references this in his book, Divine. Oh my God, I can't remember the name of the book, but I remember reading, it's Divine something, Greg Braden. I remember reading about these military experiments where they took DNA from somebody and put it in a petri dish and like put that in the room. And then they showed the person who the DNA sample came from, they showed them different images, like a movie. And some of the images were sweet, some of them were beautiful, some of them were horrific, some of them were war, some of them were, the birth of a child, some of it was a death. And the person's reacting, having an emotional reaction to the images that they're seeing, and the DNA sample is reacting in the same way. And no matter how far apart, I think they went up to 300 miles, that the sample simultaneously reacted in the same way that the person was reacting when they were watching these images. I think that's a really interesting parallel to quantum entanglement. And entanglement shows us what the mystics have always known. Separation is an illusion. And at the deepest level, we're in one field expressing in many forms. In fact, the Course in Miracles states that the only thing we need to correct, the only thing we need to heal is a sense of separation. So quantum entanglement is a highly specific, well-defined phenomena in physics. And in the lab, it refers to correlations between particles that share a quantum state, not to human emotions, relationships, or consciousness, at least not in the way we traditionally measure them. So again, I'm not saying quantum physics proves spiritual truth. I'm just saying that the deeper we go into quantum theory, the more we're asked to release these rigid ideas of separation and materialism and control. And this is what, the sages and gurus of the ages have been saying. Okay, so oneness is not a metaphor. It's a structure. There's a bridge. To me, science bridges mysticism. There's a bridge to science and mysticism. Indigenous traditions, mystics, yogis, and sages have all spoken of oneness for millennia. And entanglement gives us a scientific model of that interconnectedness. So at the quantum level, we're not separate bodies. We are vibrating fields within a larger intelligent whole. Now, your connection, my connection to others, to source, to earth, is not energetic fluff. It's how the universe is built. I mean, think of someone that you're deeply connected to, maybe even beyond words. Have you ever felt their emotions before they shared them, or sensed when they needed you? That's entanglement in action. And, entanglement means something really cool for healing and relationships and responsibility. We can use quantum entanglement as a lens for spiritual embodiment. Our inner world affects the collective field. Healing yourself shifts the frequency of those you're entangled with, family, ancestors, even those you've never met. So love transcends time and space. Prayer, intuition, and forgiveness are not bound by proximity, and you can send love and healing across timelines and locations. I had an amazing experience of this when I was in Cuba last October. It was the 10th anniversary of my mother's passing. And I remember thinking of her that week coming up, thinking, wow, this is her 10th anniversary of her passing. I can't believe it's been 10 years. And I started remembering something about my mom. She loved $2 bills and she loved Sacagawea coins. And if you don't know what a Sacagawea coin is, Sacagawea coins were minted. They're a dollar coin that commemorates Sacagawea, who was an American indigenous woman who helped Lewis and Clark navigate the new world, right? The new part of the United States, everything past the Mississippi River. And so my mom thought it was so cool that they were honoring a woman and an indigenous woman, and she loved Sacagawea coins. She would give them to us as gifts, instead of when my nieces or nephews, were little and she wanted to give them like a little gift, she'd get a roll of Sacagawea coins, $25. But instead of giving them $25, she'd give them a roll of Sacagawea coins. When I was a little kid, she would give me $2 bills. She just thought they were nifty, is what she said. So here it is on the 10th anniversary of her passing, and I'm in Cuba. I'm in Havana at the airport getting ready to leave. And at Cuba, I believe still, because it hasn't been that long, you have to access Wi-Fi via a card. So there's a Wi-Fi network, but you need to buy a card. It gives you access for a specific amount of time. And they're roughly about $2 a card. So I'm at the airport. I have a couple hours left before my flight boards. And I think, well, I'll buy a couple Wi-Fi cards. But I didn't have any more Cuban pesos. I only had a US $20 bill. So there was one booth at the airport that was selling the cards. And I went up and I asked the lady if she could make change for a $20 bill. And she said, yes. So I said, 2 cards. I gave her my $20 bill. And she hands me a $10 bill and 4 $2 bills. I received this and I went, wow, that's really odd. Like that's rare to receive it. Oh my God, my mom. That's my mom. I took the $2 bills. I started crying. I started shaking. And all of a sudden I could feel this intense love, this intense, like just showering me with love. I was crying. And I had to go. People were walking up to me, what's wrong? I'm like, leave me alone. And I went to this corner of the airport, alone. And I'm just shaking and like rocking back and forth. I must have looked like a crazy person. And I'm just experiencing my mother. And then I'm hearing a voice. It wasn't her voice. And it wasn't like I was hearing it. It was like I was receiving a message with my whole being. I was receiving this message with my whole being. And the message was, this feeling that you're having right now is the love that I feel for you. And this is the way I want you to love yourself. You must love yourself like this and love others. Never withhold love. This is what I'm receiving. These messages are just coming. Never withhold love. Love is all there is. Love is what it's all about. Never withhold love, and never let anybody tell you who to withhold love from. Like, don't give money to homeless people. If you want to give money to homeless people, give money to homeless people. No, they're just going to spend it on alcohol or drugs. So what? Maybe that kindness, this is off topic, but maybe that kindness is the thing that turns them around and say, maybe there's hope for humanity. And we got to trust in spirit when we give that money that we're circulating it and it's for good. And so we give it freely. And it's up to them what they want to do with it. But if I feel like loving someone, I'm not going to let anybody tell me not to love anybody. So I'm having this experience, right? $2 bills. It would be odd to get 4 $2 bills as change in the United States. But to get 4 $2 bills as change in Cuba, come on now. So this goes on for like 45 minutes. I'm feeling this love. I'm receiving these messages. And then I decide that I want to get some water. I'm thirsty. So I go to a little stand. There's not much in the airport in Havana. It's kind of like an airport in the 1960s, maybe the 70s. And of course, I don't have any Cuban pesos, but the water's about $2. And I give the lady the $10 bill. I say, can you make change for this? She says, yes. So she gives me the bottle of water and she gives me my change with a Sacagawea coin. With a freaking Sacagawea coin. That's like my mom was saying, just in case you thought the $2 bills were coincidence, here's a fucking Sacagawea coin in Cuba. Now, we're talking about quantum entanglement. We're talking about how love transcends time and space. And that when you are connected with somebody or something that what happens there happens here simultaneously. And this is why healing ourselves, when we heal in ceremony, when we do our work in meditation, we're healing and shifting the frequency of everyone we're connected with, family, ancestors, and even those we've never met. Prayer, intention, and forgiveness are not bound by proximity. You can send love and healing across timelines and locations. My mom did it. So you're responsible, but not alone. You're not isolated in your transformation. We're entangled in grace. And when one rises, we all rise. And I mean, isn't that what Jesus said? Didn't Jesus say something like that? Right? Or there's a saying, the rising tide lifts all boats. So I want to give you, that was my personal example, but here's some historical examples of how this quantum entanglement works. So there's a lady, Moriah Nalamaku, from Hawaii. She was born in 1913 and died in 1992. And she was a Hawaiian healer and the modern founder of the spiritual practice known as Ho'oponopono, a forgiveness-based healing tradition. And there's a story as told by Dr. Hugh Lin. Dr. Hugh Lin was a clinical psychologist who worked at a hospital for the criminally insane in Hawaii. The patients there were violent and considered untreatable. But instead of speaking to them directly, Dr. Hugh Lin practiced Ho'oponopono privately in his office. He would look at their files and repeat internally, "I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you." He wasn't praying for them. He was healing the part of himself that was entangled with their pain. The result was that over time, without direct therapy or conversation, patients under Dr. Hugh Lin's care began changing. Aggression decreased. Some were taken off heavy medication, and eventually many were released. And the ward itself became calm, collaborative, and even joyful. Excuse me. This is a profound demonstration of how a shift in one person's consciousness can change the energy of a relationship or environment without words, confrontation, or efforting. Another historical example that I love Nelson Mandela and the Guard. So, after 27 years in prison, Mandela emerged not with violence, but with a radical inner sense of forgiveness and unity. And his energy, his presence was so powerful, it disarmed many people who had dehumanized him. One of his former prison guards from Robben Island was later present at the presidential inauguration. And at the dais, Mandela had no private conversation with him, no public confrontation, but his embodied forgiveness and spiritual presence had directly done the work. The guard later said that that he had never known a man with more dignity or grace, and that Mandela's presence made him rethink everything he believed about power, race, and justice. So Mandela's internal shift rippled out, and he didn't have to speak his forgiveness. He became it. And those around him responded, often unconsciously, to a new field he was embracing. We practice this forgiveness, and practices, Ho'oponopono is one practice, but there are other practices to feel and live oneness. So I want to offer grounded spiritual tools that attune people to their inherent connection. The first is a heart coherence meditation. And this would be simply placing your hand on your heart and breathing slowly. You could also pretend that there's a hole in the center of your chest and that you're breathing in and out of that hole in the center of your chest. And then as you do that, feel into someone you love or want to heal. And imagine golden light connecting your heart to theirs. Before any conversation or decision, you can just affirm that I'm connected and what I do ripples. The other practice is service as quantum repair. When we act from unity and not obligation, every act of kindness shifts the grid. What if my love here is healing someone I never met? It's the question. We can practice. We have evidence and proof on a spiritual level. We have the example of quantum entanglement that reminds us that we're not separate, that we really are connected. The truth that the spiritual teachers have been telling us, that I can't hurt someone without hurting myself, I can't love someone without helping myself or loving myself. This is true. So, are you ready to connect? You're already connected. You're already connected. You are not separate. You are not a separate drop. You are the ocean in a drop. Entanglement isn't just quantum, it's metaphysical, it's emotional, and it's deeply personal. So the healing you do for yourself is never just for yourself. So I want to end with this statement. I am already connected. I live, love, and heal from a field of oneness. And I'll simply ask you to reflect on where in your life have you forgotten that you're connected? And what can you do this week to honor that connection? So I'm so grateful. Donna says, I love this. Thank you, Donna. I love it too. I'm so grateful that you enjoyed it. And I really love being able to present this material because it's interesting to me. And I get to study and find examples from history and build my library of understanding around this. So that's our talk for today. Next week, we'll do a third talk in the series on spirit and science. And I look forward to seeing you then. I wish you peace and richest blessings. Thank you, thank you, thank you.